chanting.
Your camera?
Oh, yeah.
We have 2 more minutes.
Yeah. I'm very mindful of that.
You should talk about some of the educational stuff that Project Self does in India. Maybe people may not know about that.
Yeah, so we have a school called Akshara. So we teach at least 15 unprivileged kids completely free of cost. Only thing is that we could do only the preschool. So the cost factor. But we thought this type of training has to go at that age. I started exposed to this only after my 20s. But this has to go at an early young age. So again, so our vision is always wellness is not one dimensional. You have to have physical wellness because without physical health, you cannot do anything. That physical wellness has to be complemented with emotional wellness. Now, modern management, emotional intelligence is a big branch. Every leader has to go through that training, which has to be complemented by professional wellness or the intellectual wellness, what we call, because you have to pay the mortgage. So that's why we have this machine learning and project management, all type of classes here, because we focus on wellness, whatever is the dimension. So it is either it will be physical, so yoga, all those diabetic prevention comes there. Emotional wellness, we have the meditations comes there. Intellectual professional wellness comes through these type of classes, and then social wellness, because it's so important that you're not an isolated being. You have to connect with other beings. So how do you relate with your children? How do you relate with your spouses? How do you relate with your family? How do you relate with the friends? How do you relate professionally? That is extremely important. Most of the people don't pay any attention. This type of relations will not happen so randomly. You have to put effort on that, because you cannot say that, yeah, this is going to work normally. So the other day I was joking, right? If you go to Vaikunta and Kailash, in 2 days you will see fight between Lakshmi and Vishnu. That is the story. Relationship has to be consciously built, right? You know, every time it is another person. You cannot expect that your mindset is exactly going to be complemented by the other person, because he or she is a different person. And that's where all these social styles, that's a new big buzzword in management, something called the social styles. You need to understand your social styles and your manager's social styles and your co-workers' social styles, and how do you relate. There is a whole science behind that. We don't do that much, but we do a little bit differently, but we believe that that's a key thing. And finally, the spiritual wellness has to be there. So that's the whole idea. So all these will be taught into the children at that age. So that's why, so we took trainings, curriculum from New York State. We took a lot of emotional intelligence. We took a lot of spiritual components, everything mixed together. It's an experiment. Okay, so we can get started. So as always, we'll do a little bit of chanting. Again, this is based on the feedbacks. So we'll start from verse 10 and we will chant up to verse 15, because and today we will talk about verse 14 and 15. So let's start. You can chant after me. So this is the 10th verse. So this is, you can see the Sanskrit and the English transliteration is there. The meaning is also there. And it is there in the one note. All of you have access to this one note. Anybody is interested, you can put the other language stuff also there, like Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu versions are also there. Yeah, you can chant. So, sorry to put you on the spot. You can sit here.
So are you at the shloka?
Yeah, I was about to do, but since you are here, this is Anu. She can chant the entire Gita from left to right, from front to back. Any verse you say, she will chant. So we'll chant from second chapter, maybe from verse 1 to verse 15.
Yeah.
1 5. Do you need the text?
I have the text. I have the text. Maybe I'll just keep it for now.
Yeah. So I'll keep the text here for you.
So just 15?
First 15 verses. So you can just chant one line so that they have an opportunity to chant.
Okay, so they would repeat after.
They will repeat after.
After one line.
Yeah, because this is one of the greatest feedback I got from everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
You can recite.
Yeah, go ahead, start. Yeah.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Om
Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Atha Dvitiyodhyayah.
Atha Dvitiyodhyayah.
Sankhyayogaha.
Sankhya Yogaha.
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam.
Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam.
Ashrupurna Kulekshanam.
Ashrupurna Kulekshanam.
Vishidantamidam Vakyam.
Vishidantamidam Vakyam.
Uvacha Madhusudanaha.
Uvacha Madhusudanaha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kutastva Kashmalamidam.
Kutastva Kashmalamidam.
Vishame Samupasthitam.
Vishame Samupasthitam.
Anaryajushtamaswaryam.
Anaryajushtamaswaryam.
Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Klaibyam Masmagamah Partha.
Aivyam Masmagamah Partha.
Naitattvayupapadyate.
Naitattvayupapadyate.
Shudram Hridaya Daurbalyam.
Shudram Hridaya Daurbalyam.
Tyaktvotishtha Parantapa.
Yaktodvishta Parantapa.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Katham Bhishmamaham Sankhye.
Katham Bhishmaham Sankhye.
Dronam cha Madhusudana.
Dronam cha Madhusudana.
Ishubhih Pratiyotsyami.
Ishubhih Pratiyotsyami.
Pujarha Varisudana.
Pujarha Varisudana.
Arjun Guruna Hatva hi Mahanubhavan.
Guruna Hatva hi Mahanubhavan.
Shreyo Bhoktum Bhaikshyamapi Haloke.
Shreyo Bhoktum Bhaikshyam api haloke.
Hatvarthakamam stu Guruni Haiva.
Astvarthakamam stu guruni haiva.
Bhunjiya Bhogan Ruthira Pradiktan.
Bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradikdhan.
Nachaitat vidmah kataranno gariyaha.
Nachaitat vidmaha kataranno gariyaha.
Yatva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu.
Yatva jayema yadivano jeyuhu.
Yaneva hatva na jijivishamaha.
यानेव हत्वा न जीजीविषामः
देव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः
देवस्थिता प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः
कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः
कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः
पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः
पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेतः
यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे
यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे
शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्
शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधि मां त्वं प्रपन्नम्
न हि प्रपश्यामि ममापनुद्यात्
न हि प्रपश्यामि ममापनुद्यात्
यच्छोकमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम्
यच्छोकमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम्
अवाप्य भूमावसपत्नमृद्धम्
अवाप्य भूमावसपत्नमृद्धम्
राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम्
राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम्
सञ्जय उवाच
सञ्जय उवाच
एवमुक्त्वा हृषीकेशम्
एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशम्
गुडाकेशः परन्तपः
गुडाकेशः परन्तपः
न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम्
न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम्
उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः
उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः
तमुवाच हृषीकेशः
तमुवाच ऋषिकेशः
प्रहसन्निव भारत
प्रहसन्निव भारत
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
विषीदन्तमिदं वचः
विषीदन्तमिदं वचः
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वम्
अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वम्
प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे
प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे
गतासु न गतासूंश्च
गतासूनगतासूंश्च
नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः
नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः
न त्वेवाहं चातुनासम्
न त्वेवाहं जातुनासम्
न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः
न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः
न चैव न भविष्यामः
न चैव न भविष्यामः
सर्वे वयमतः परम्
सर्वे वयमतः परम्
देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे
देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे
कौमारं यौवनं जरा
कौमारं यौवनं जरा
तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः
तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः
धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति
धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति
मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय
मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदाः
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदाः
आगमापायिनो नित्याः
आगमापायिनो नित्याः
तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत
तातिष्ठस्व भारता
यं हि न व्यथयन्ते ते
यं हि न व्यथयन्ते ते
पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ
पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ
समदुःखसुखं धीरं
समदुःखसुखं धीरम्
सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते
सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll just share one experience of chanting. See, when I started Gita, this chanting was never of importance to me because I thought like we can gain more from the meaning. Definitely, that is true because mere chanting won't, it has its own benefit, but ultimately you know the meaning. You have to know the meaning. But the best thing is, a couple of times actually, she's part of a group called Yoga Sangeeta. They focus chanting a lot. And a couple of times I was invited as guest in their program. So when I was listening to them, because this meaning is already in my mind. So when I was closing my eyes and listening to this chanting, the meaning comes to me. It's a wonderful experience. It cannot be expressed in words. So those who can afford to learn chanting, do that along with this. That would be really good. So please come once in a while and do this chanting. It will be, once you move to South Brunswick, it's a good thing. She has to come all the way. But thank you. And once you are here, we would like to teach that to kids also. A few kids whenever you have time. There's so many people who are asking me about that. Okay, so we'll get started. So let's do a 5 minutes recap, and we will do 2 verses today. Next week also, we will do only 2 verses. So please excuse me for going slow for these sessions, because this foundation is pretty much important for understanding the rest of the Gita. So a couple of points. What exactly is the problem we were trying to solve here? Is it a battle of Arjuna? No, right? If it was Arjuna's specific problem, how to win the Mahabharata battle, then the Gita was not useful to us. It would have been definitely useful to Arjuna at that point of time. But in 21st century, it may not be of much use for us. We may read it as a religious book. Maybe some tears will come out of thinking about Krishna's glory. And we may think that this is what happened at that point of time. We can learn some lessons from history. Other than that, it would not have added any value. But the problem Gita is trying to solve, any such books, is trying to solve, whether it is Bible or Quran or Gita, any scriptures, the fundamental problem is we are subjected to sorrow. We are subjected to sorrow. It's very important. It is not that Arjuna had a problem. This has solved his problem. Because if that is the case, Krishna would have conquered the war for him and gave him the throne. That would have solved the issue. What was the problem? That tomorrow Arjuna may have a health problem. The same issue will pop up. And day after tomorrow, a family issue. This will pop up. So the fundamental problem is everybody is subjected to sorrow. Everybody is at risk. Remember, we talked about risk. Risk means it's a known unknown. We all know that tomorrow, last week I made a bold statement in the Vedanta class. I said, you all might have faced a lot of struggles in your life so far. Thank God, we all managed it. But what is ahead of us certainly would be much more than, of course, the health is deteriorating. Correct? And you all having teens, and I was just joking. There are a lot of problems ahead of us. So if we are closing eyes to that problem, we are closing our eyes in front of the reality. So we'll have to get that resilience in us. How do we build that? That is what the goal of this teaching. So Krishna said that every situation can be looked at from different levels. Even in the day-to-day worldly problem can be, means worldly things can be looked at in two different angles. I said one is the absolute angle, reality. The second one is the relative or the empirical reality. I gave a couple of good examples from day-to-day life. Remember? Anybody remember one example? Your experience is not reconciling with the truth. Can you give me one example? Sunset. You all go to Kanyakumari, you all go to beaches to see sunset. What is the experience?
The sun is going down.
Sun is going down the ocean. But what is the reality? The horizon is moving up. And we all know that we know that the earth is flat. That is what our empirical experience is. But we all know that
It's not.
it is not. So that's what it is. So Krishna said that every situation, one view is called empirical view, or the worldly view, or the relative reality view. That means it is my experience, and mind you, you cannot run away from that reality, because that is why we call it as a reality. We didn't say that it doesn't exist. So don't say that I'm Brahman, so I'm not going to pay mortgage. That won't work. If you go and kill somebody, don't say that Atma doesn't have death. Yet you'll say that, okay, your Atma won't, also don't have death, you go to the gallows. So, first type of experience is based on the framework you are in. Like we call it as a time-space continuum. That is the scientific definition. You're in time and space. With respect to that time and space, you have an experience. And you cannot run away from that. And that is an experience. But is that the absolute experience? No. There is a higher perspective, which is not subjected to change. Remember, I used a word called Trikala Abadidam Satyam. That which is not subjected to change, that which is not subjected to negation, based upon the conditions of my viewpoint. See, if I go to the outer space, I see the earth as round. So depending upon the framework, which framework I'm in, my experience would be different. If it is absolute, it should stay everywhere the same. So from that perspective, we looked at the jiva, the individual. The means, what is jiva? So whenever we define a term in Vedanta and yoga, it cannot be mere abstract. So I spend a lot of time defining what is jiva. Jiva is anything that has life. A jiva has three dimensions we talked. One is a physical body, which is born at a certain point of time, which is changing throughout the life. Remember, we talked about the regeneration of cells from a scientific perspective. I referred a brilliant article from University of Manchester. One Indian scientist, K.S. Mani, a Tamilian, he has published a lot of research articles on that. Every cell of the human body, 95% of the cells will regenerate in every 7 years. So the body is subjected to change, and from a Vedantic model, we said it is subjected to sixfold modification. What are they? Asti, Jayate, Varthade, Viparinamade, Apakshiyate, Pranashyati. Existence, birth, growth, finally a complete turnaround, metamorphosis, then decay, finally death. So that is subjected to only to physical body, we said. And we said there is a hardware component and a software component. When that hardware component ends, the software component can go transmigrates. Remember, I spent a lot of time explaining what is the physical matter and what is the subtle matter. Just keep that example of that hard disk. 2.2 pound weight means hard disk. You stored the 2 TB of data into that, which is the lifetime of your video, and you weighed it again. it has the same weight. So that's the subtle matter. If you don't remember subtle matter, if you just remember this one example, it will be crystal clear. So the subtle matter or the software, which remember I spent a lot of time explaining that who gives the personality? Software. Remember, right now it's a PowerPoint. It can go to OneNote in a second. And I said when a teen uses Instagram, personality. So what exactly is the software running on the computer will give the personality. So the software, which is your subtle body, is going to give you the personality. But the software can manifest only when there is a hardware. If the hardware has its own constraint, if the monitor is not working, what happens?
It's useless.
The software might be good, but it won't come out properly. So the hardware software combination is absolutely a must have. And what is the lifespan of this subtle body? It goes on and on and on. We talked about the karma. Mind you, I said it's a matter of belief. And I said one more thing. When you believe something reasonable. That's it. That's all I can say here. I'm being very close to the facts. Okay? So if somebody says that it is not, that's not correct. How can you prove it? If somebody wants to prove it, they have to die. So the third thing, we said, in spite of the hardware and software, you need a third component, which is the electricity. Without the electricity, neither the hardware nor the software cannot function. That is called Atma. The second part is software is called soul or the subtle body. And I made it very clear that it's a loose translation. Soul means it's a loose translation. The other one is physical body. So what Krishna was trying to say here is that he said, the first statement he said, hey Arjuna, you are speaking words of wisdom. Remember the first chapter, you all asked me, yeah, Arjuna is speaking words of wisdom. The first thing Krishna acknowledges, you are speaking words of wisdom. But a wise person don't get into these hysterical conditions. Remember, we talked about different levels of stress. Relaxed state is fantastic. Positive stress is also good. Without that positive stress, most of us will not work. Right? I told you that example. Without a deadline, if you give a work to a software developer, you all know that. Student syndrome, we call it in management. So, olden times, April 14th, you would see a huge queue in the post office. When you get the W2, why you wait for the last moment and look at your kids if they have an assignment? That's why I call it as student syndrome. This is a standard term in management. So, little bit stress is required. Without a deadline, nobody will function. But what happens? If that stress goes beyond certain level, it becomes a problem. Your performance started coming down. And I referred a book for your reference, which explains this one topic in detail, which is a Nobel Prize winning discovery. It's called Flow. That is the book's name. Book's name is called Flow. It's a very famous book. You might have heard the word flow for sure. There is a book. Flow, I believe that the book's name is the Science of Optimal Performance. So now the modern neurology comes back and tell you, psychology comes back and tell you that this is the way you should operate. This book, and you would see so many concepts of Gita in a different language in that book. I forgot the author's name. It's a very strange author, meaning name. He's a fantastic scientist. And the book I referred in the last week also is talking a lot about this. Learned optimism. It's a UPenn scientist. His name is Seligman, Martin Seligman. So having said that,
Author's name is Mihaly something.
yeah, Mihaly.
Shiz Z me.
Yeah, that's what it's hard to pronounce. Okay, anyway, there's a book. It's a very famous book. So having said that, this is the optimal performance. So you cannot get into that state. So something is wrong. You know theoretically, but it is not internalized. We all advise the other people. Whenever they have a symptom, right? You means the doctor advised you go and do a MRI or a scan. If it is another person, you advise it's fine. But when it comes to me, it's a different matter. You all know that. A doctor who does surgery for every person, if it is his family, it affects. So theoretically, I know what is there, but I cannot implement it. So Krishna explains that. And he said, one statement of fact he said in verse 11. He said, Gata soon agata sumscha na anushojanti pandita. He didn't say that don't be sorrow. He said anushojanti. Anushojanti means what? Anu, if you add the prefix anu, means it's constantly again and again and again. If a situation comes, you have to be sad because something happens to somebody. Don't say that you will not be sad. You will cry. But if that is going to put you completely down from doing what needs to be done, that's a problem. So that's what Krishna said. And he said, eventually you don't, means you have to understand, means whether somebody is dead or alive, no need to go to that stage. He started explaining that by giving some facts. He put the whole thing into two different buckets. One is, if your fear is about fear of death, I'm going to tell you something. Two things you need to understand. One is, the greatest fear is fear of death. So how did he mitigate that? He gave that absolute perspective. He said, from an absolute perspective, there is no death and birth. He used a double negative, if you remember. He said, there was not a time when I was not there. There was not a time when you are not there. There was not a time when all these people were there. And there won't be a time when we all cease to exist. That means what? Simple terms. There is no birth, no death. Right. That is the first part. And then he said, yeah, there is another entity. What happens when the body dies? What is going to happen? The software, the subtle component in you will transmigrate to a different body. So that was the verse 13 we saw. So let's go to the 14 now. So that if that the fear of death, at least you may not be convinced, but at least you know that there is a different perspective. That much is good. So now, then what is the problem? You may tell me that, okay, if somebody hits me, if something happens to some near and dear, or if the stock market crashes, or some nagging boss is there, or managing teams, all that a problem. What does that mean? Can I say that I'm Atma, so I can run away from that? Absolutely not. That's what. There would be problem while you're living, there would be a fear of death. So the fear of death part is explained. Now he's going to explain the problem while living. So let's see. Okay. So would you mind chanting? Just 14.
Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata.
So it tells Matra sparshastu kaunteya shita ushna sukha dukkha. Matra sparshastu. Matra means literally means to measure. But here the meaning is, it is your sense organs when it touches the sense objects. It is poetically said that your sense organs are measuring. The eyes are measuring the light and the people around you. The ears are measuring the sound, etc. So when the sense organs touches the sense objects. When the eyes contact with the names and forms, when the ears comes in contact with the sound, when the skin come in contact with the objects, when the tongue contacts with the food or anything tasty, so any such, when the nose contacts with the smell, these are the sense organs contacting with the sense objects. What happens? There is an experience. What is that experience he is talking about? Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. Basically, he is saying that every experience in this world, of course, this experience comes through the sense organs. Every experience in the world will generate something in you. Sometimes it is heat and cold, Shita, Ushna, Sukha and Dukkha. What happens? Some of these experiences might be pleasant, some of these experience would be unpleasant. So when every experience of this life would generate an experience of you, some of them would be physically good, some of them would be physically not so good. Some of them would be emotionally good. That is what I said. Shita and Krishna at the physical level. Sukha and Dukkha at the emotional level. So emotionally it would generate different experience. Physically also it would be generate different experience. Look at the completeness of the Gita. And he tells the next words, Agama apayino anityaha. The Agama apayinaha means it comes and goes. They are not permanent. Today you have all the luck. Tomorrow that may not be the case. And that doesn't mean that that is going to stay forever. These experiences will come and go. Don't think that you can be in pleasant experience always. If somebody has that understanding that, okay, I'm spiritually strong, so tomorrow onwards there won't be any tsunami, there won't be a nagging boss, and everybody is going to be changing. Krishna is negating that. Is coming really practical reality. And what is the Agama Apayino Anityaha? When you chant, it is Nitya. But when you divide the Sandhi, it is Anitya. Agama Apayino Anityaha. They are not permanent. These experiences are not permanent. So there is a good study. Like, I think there is a TV show which chases all the people who won the lottery. What is your understanding of winning lottery if you get 500 million? What would, right now, if you may think that you don't need anything. I was talking to somebody yesterday. He said that if I get a green card, I don't need anything. I said, yes. Today. If that is the case, all of you would have been self-realized masters.
That's like that Wipro job in the
Right. So Kailash ji was telling in the Vedanta class, this is a very good thing. Like when he was studying, he had three ambitions. One is, sorry Kailash ji, for using your personal example, he gave the permission to do that. That's why. He said a job at Wipro, a 4-digit salary, and a moped, right?
Yeah,
Previous 50.
yeah, previous 50.
That is good enough. And right now, 1,000 times more you got. But at that time, we felt more comfortable. So don't think that this experience or your definition of happiness at a future period of time is going to happen. Now I think that if I can get a $10 million, I'll be happy. Something is going to go away, right? Yeah.
So Rajesh, is this tendency of the mind
Huh.
to never be satisfied a proper thing?
Tendency. See, the thing is, you cannot stay stagnant in life, right? So you have to go ahead. But one is comfort. Second thing is happiness. The belief is that by getting XYZ, I'll be happy. That won't happen. That's what it is. But you'll be more comfortable. And I was joking the other day, right? You can be comfortably unhappy. And you can be uncomfortably happy. So don't think that the possessions are going to make you happy. Definitely the possessions are going to make you comfortable. You have to be very practical because you cannot say that I don't need AC, I don't need a good car. No, you'll be uncomfortable. But don't think that that is going to make you happy. They say at work, these perks won't make you anybody happy, but the lack of that is going to create a problem. In PMP material, they talk about this particular fact in detail. And even Abraham Maslow, right? He defined this hierarchy of need. There is a pyramid. Those who study that, they know that. There is a pyramid. Means they say that like there are certain conditions initially, which is security. Once you get the security, you need a little bit of happiness. And finally, it goes to self-actualization, which is pretty much aligned with what we are talking here. But their self-actualization is slightly different from our self-realization. That's a different matter. But what I'm saying is that the psychology is going exactly in the same direction. Positive psychology, the new branch of psychology, which is gaining a lot of momentum nowadays. It is talking about the same thing. So, agama payino anityaha. So Krishna is saying one technique. Tvam titikshasva bharata. So you develop an attitude or a discipline called titiksha. Titiksha means endurance. You heard of that? It's not a negative word. So I'm going to explain that a little bit scientifically. So let's see that. So this is what the meaning is. He said that when I say you should not get depressed state, that doesn't mean that tomorrow onwards your life experiences are all going to be good. You have to face challenging situation. You have to have heat and cold and happiness and unhappiness. Know that they are going to come and go. Learn to endure them. Learn to endure. I would say this is one of the most powerful teaching. This is nothing, means this is the fact of life. So the English translation is also there. This is a poetry, anybody can sing. So the theme of this verse is endure the experience of life. So let's see. I've put a lot of facts. So absolute perspective, we are Atma. We are not subjected to pain. But where are we right now sitting? With a body and a relative field, and you cannot run away from that. So from an empirical perspective, from a transactional perspective, we have a body and mind which is subjected to the nature and the limitations of the body and the mind. So what is the wisdom? If something cannot be changed, accept it. Good old teaching, what cannot be cured? That's the point. How? Some people with curse try to pass that. Is that a positive attitude? Absolutely not. So what cannot be changed? See, the inherent nature of the body and the mind is this. What is the nature of the body? Sixfold modification. So someday, however the medical science advances, how much it can extend your life. One day you have to get ready to leave this body. And what is our expectation? Some people postpone their happiness till they meet all their wish items in the wish list. Is that going to happen? Never. So what is the point we are saying? If we cannot be happy here and now, don't think that tomorrow you'll be happy. Learn to be happy and face the situation positively. This is going to make a lot of difference. I'm going to quote a little bit of science here. Let's go one by one. So it's the commentary, we get some beautiful thoughts on this. Inherent nature of, for example, the inherent nature of fire is what? Heat. The inherent nature of water is what? Wetness. And you're trying to make the life free from all the problems means you're trying to make the fire free from heat. So please, some religious people have this tendency. They think that some magic wand somebody will put, and tomorrow onwards, all the problems are going to vanish. Look at the life of Rama. Look at the life of Jesus. Look at the life of Prophet Muhammad. Look at the life of Buddha. What made Rama Rama was how he faced the situation. What made Jesus Christ the Christ was how he responded to that situation. It's a brilliant response he gave, right? Oh Lord, forgive them. They do not know what they're doing. That's what made him the Christ. Nothing more, right? That is what that mental attitude. And in Bible, you will see that beautiful passage where in a span of weeks, how he was treated differently. One snapshot, everybody was crying hallelujah and saying that the king of Israel is coming, and everybody was welcoming him. 3 weeks later, he was crucified along with 2 thieves. But what was his response? He was neither too much elated when he was praised. He was not so down when he was able to face, he was able to maintain this equanimity, endure them. So the pleasure and pain are part of life. Learn to accept that, and when there is a pleasure, enjoy it. Some people, especially the previous generation in Kerala, I don't know how other places, they don't let you laugh too much. They say that, okay, then some pain is going to come if you laugh too much. No, not like that. When there is enjoyment, learn to enjoy. When there is a pain, understand that this is a temporary situation. It goes away. Modern medicine has done a lot of research in this particular area. So, anybody, means I told you a book called Mind Over Medicine. Read the chapter, I think the pages between 40 to 70. You'll get this lot of stories on this. One doctor told a patient that you have a very rare type of cancer and you won't survive. No, he didn't say you won't survive. He said such cases, 90% of such cases will not survive 6 months. This patient died in 2 months. Then only they realized that the diagnosis was wrong. He didn't have that cancer.
He did not.
He did not. So many case studies. A certain Chinese people in California, their longevity has very less because there was a popular belief that if your star is certain star, you have an early death. The whole placebo in medical science works because of this. If you learn to endure them with a positive mind, there is a very good chance that your body will be able to heal. And especially if you want to understand the scientific reference on this, I would suggest read the pages between 60 to 70 from that Mind Over Medicine. The scientific explanation is given properly. So this ability to face situations with a positive mind, accepting the situation, facing it, it's extremely critical for anybody's well-being. That is very, very good. So let's continue. So endure the experience of life. So essentially we are saying here is that the intelligent person will not try to change the inherent nature of the object. What is the inherent nature of the project, here, what we are talking? He won't expect that the life is going to be a series of good events. Can you tell me one person in the world who has 100% of the experience positive? It's just impossible. If you think that tomorrow is going to happen, that's the most superstitious belief. If you think that tomorrow onwards, by doing X, Y, Z, you will get into a state and all the experience is going to be positive, it's just impossible. So then you have to develop the attitude of accept. I accept the nature of the body. I will do. That doesn't mean that you won't go to a doctor. That is not what it means. It means you have to, what cannot be cured, you have to accept it. That's what it is. So there will be cold during the cold winter. Some people, when it is cold, they cry. I'm sure you might have seen such people. Now they will say that, okay, it's cold, cold, cold. And when it is summer,
It's hot, hot.
it's hot. Seen such people, right? Anything they complain. Right from food. If the coffee is too hot, it's a problem. If it is cold. So the point Krishna is making is, there are certain facts which you can change. Definitely go and change. If you get sick, what do you have to do? Go to the doctor, try to do the best treatment as much as possible. And sometimes that may not be good enough. Then, if you sit and get depressed, whatever remaining days is lost. So Vivekananda made one statement. A bold man dies but once. But all of us, how many times we die? Every day we die. Thinking about the child's admission, some people die. Meaning, psychologically, I'm telling. What could happen to my 401k? Some people die. What is going to happen to my relationship? Some people die. You have to accept it. The very fact that you invested in stock, can you expect that always it is going to go up? It may go and down, up and go. Those who are into stock, they know, right? The time is always a factor. If you take 3 scenarios, you need cash for buying a car in 3 months. You need to fund your child's admission in 3 years. And you need to retire in 15 years. If you put money for that 3 months car buying into stock, you may not get that result, right? They always say in investment, you need that time is a big factor. So the life, these types of ups and downs, if you just look at the graph of that stock, you just go to Yahoo Finance and take a stock and just look at the performance, you will see that. In between, you will see in 2008 or 2000, when was that dip? 2008, right? There was a huge dip. And during the 2002, you could see a huge dip. So even if you made the investment at that point of time, look at most of the stock. I mean, some of them died, but stable companies, you can see. Even if you did that time, it would have taken some 6-7 years to get that break even, but now it has gone up. So be intelligent. Do everything you need. Means if you need to sell it. But if you just get depressed over that, what change it is going to bring in your life? And if you get too much depressed, what is the problem? You may not be able to do the corrective action at that point of time. I told you about that pilot who, even forget about that pilot who landed the flight in the Hudson River. Very recently, an Air India flight, AI 101, In JFK, they could not, means they found that the whole JFK was clouded, there was zero visibility. Rarely it happens. Like they found that the two automatic landing gears were not working. He was able to land it very manually. This is exactly what it is. That is what Krishna is talking. We are going to talk more about this because it's very easy. Right now, he's telling you need to have this endurance. But then you will ask me, right? How am I going to get this endurance? Can I go and get a pill? It would have been very easy. A pill that is going to make me resilient on these things. That is where the whole yoga comes into picture. The yoga is the process by which trains your mind to get this endurance. Right now, Krishna is stating the fact. Remember the style is, initially you have to say why, and we are talking about the what, and then we have to see the how. So this is the what part. So you need to have that endurance. This is a must-have skill. And Krishna talks about this is an upasana. And Krishna talks later. It's a learned skill. Thank God. Otherwise, what happens? God will bless certain people with good resilience, and some people. Have you heard of this? So some people, any headache is a brain tumor for them. Such people are there.
Yeah.
Even in our own family, you may find some people.
Yeah.
And then, till you finish all the testing, everything will be fine. By that time, the next test will be there. And have you tried to read these medical WebMD?
Oh yeah, it's confusing.
No. Any disease you read, I'm 100% sure that I got it, right? Some symptoms will be there.
Absolutely.
Like slight headache or some body pain or constipation. Who don't have it? And some people just any small things they will go to WebMD, automatically get depressed. This is the problem. So let's go to the next thing. So endure the experience of life. So as long as we are in the body, this experience will come and go. Shankaracharya makes 3 points very clear. If there is some yoga is going to happen. Somebody has came to your life. It could be your spouse. It could be your child. It could be your house. One day, it will go. If some yoga happens, yoga is going to happen. You can prevent it as much as possible, but you cannot say that this is forever. Second point, if there is growth, that will be good. Your child, you are grown up, and I talked about that apakshiyade. The signs are already there, right? Initially, I could read without a glass, and now I need a glass. Blood pressure medication. The vitals started changing. All that is going to happen. Then, if there is a gain, there could be loss sometimes. There's no life in gain alone. And life is a series of that. That's the nature of life. Remember, the nature of fire is heat. You're trying to remove that sorrow part from life. It will not happen. Be realistic. That's the time people think about heaven. Heaven is an escape route from the problems of life. Truly speaking. So, ancient times people used to do a lot of rituals. For what? Going to heaven. And in the second chapter, verse 41, 2, 3, 4, Krishna ridicules such things. They think that going to heaven is going to solve all the problem. I was joking. You'll have heavenly problems there. So that's what it is. So the things keep on changing, and some of them will be favorable, some of them will be completely not favorable. Try to adjust as much as possible within your capacity, but face the other things bravely and positively. Physical pain, for example, it is not avoidable sometimes. The body is subjected to pain. Don't think that you will get pain. You will get pain. I'm going to talk about that. So endure this experience of life. One point Krishna makes it very clear is, this is to say, not to say that you should sit quietly and accept everything passively. Not at all. You will fight till the last moment. You try to solve as much as possible. Take every situation as it comes, do the best, and then leave it. So nothing will remain the same for all. So this endurance is what he said. So this statement, which I highlighted in a different color, just read that sentence. So having said this finite nature of the changeable objects and situations, correct? It's a statement of fact. Having understood the changing nature of the situations, because today everything is good for me. Today I don't have a job, but tomorrow I get a job. It is going to happen. Of course, that period is going to be tight, but it is going to be over. And today everything is good to me. That doesn't mean that tomorrow it may not be like that. So having understand that nature, wherein every one of them has a beginning and end, every experience. And no occasion need a wise man need to despair at least of things that they are and they are not. Heat and cold will come, pleasure and pain will come. Face them with courage. This is such an important lesson for life. Most of the people don't even want to accept this. This is, if you accept this is the reality, see, this is normal in life, it makes a huge change in the perspective. Okay, so endure this experience. He who can understand this, he is a wise person. That's what the point is. So,
We just lost it. Yeah, wanna.
so this endurance, there is a technical term. It is called titiksha in our scripture. Titiksha is a mental discipline one need to develop. What is the definition of titiksha? Shankaracharya defines this in his brilliant work called Vivek Chudamani. The definition of titiksha is Sahanam sarva dukkhana apratikara purvakam chinta vilapa jahitam sa titiksha nityatyate. So when there is a painful situation, you have to endure them positively. How? Chinta vilapa jahitam. Some people adjust it. Why? There's no other choice. But in that period, they will curse from Lord Shiva to their wife. Everybody will be cursed and they will be upset. They will hit the wall. Some Chinmananda was telling, joking, somebody was telling, like, I feel like hitting the wall. He said, please do. Is that going to change the situation? Absolutely not. So this attitude is very important. So the presentation is there. We are stopping in 5 minutes. But just one more point. In medicine or in sports, you might have heard two terms. One is called the threshold of pain and the pain tolerance. So the neurology defines pain as what? Anybody have you thought about why do you get pain? No, why you need pain? It's a body's mechanism to alert you something, right? So that you can take care of it. So that is what is called the threshold of pain. So some people, like when certain means if you pinch, at certain point of time you feel that sensation. That is the threshold. But the threshold, having the threshold is very important because you don't want to miss any alert. But there is a tolerance level. Like some people, if you pinch a little bit more, they cannot bear it. If you pinch a little bit further, they cannot stop. So what is the maximum amount of pain you can tolerate? And that is called the tolerance, pain tolerance. And there's a lot of research has happened on this. They say, what? With practice,
Tolerate more and
you
more.
can increase that. All these athletes, all these sports people, they go through a rigorous training. For what? To increase their, yeah. And the pain tolerance is influenced by, surprisingly, the modern science tells us exactly the same that we are talking here. They say your mental conditioning, your stress, your bringing up, your belief system, your attitude towards life. And what exactly is the solution? They say positive acceptance. I'm just quoting to say that this is not a dry theory. Every coach uses this extensively. So this threshold or the threshold of pain and the tolerance of pain, Titiksha is that discipline which allows you to expand your pain tolerance. Don't you need that? You're not interested in spirituality. You're not interested in moksha. Still, don't you think that this is something that you need? They say the difference between two people is what? As a like a crisis manager or a person who can face any situation, the pain tolerance. Pain means not just physical pain, emotional pain also. Some people, when they see a needle, some people get unconscious. And some people, even if they chop their hands, they are strong. So how do you build? Because right now the pain tolerance might be 20. What should be my goal? I should improve it. Who is making any effort in this? So you're going to face a battle, Krishna is saying, without any armor. You're exposing your children to the world without these life skills. Unfortunately, no school is teaching them. Just by learning how to multiply and divide, how to program a computer will not make them a strong human being. These are the disciplines. And mind you, this is what the Upasana Yoga, we are going to talk. 4 levels of discipline we are going to talk later in the 6th chapter. This is going to make you bulletproof armor to face the world outside. With this training, when you go and face the life situations, the same situations that brings you down, you'll be able to face it bravely and strongly. So that's why the Titiksha, Krishna is saying that for the life which is going to give you different types of experiences, you should be trained to face that situation. And that skill which is going to make you to face the challenges of life, that primary skill is called out as Titiksha. So let's recap. Means I was trying to cover 2 verses, but we'll stick with 1 verse. He said, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, every life experience is going to give you Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. It give you pressure, pain, heat and cold. Meaning physical level, good and bad. Emotional level, good and bad. Agama Paino Anityaha. They will come and go and they are not permanent. None of them are permanent. Tvam Swam Titikshasva Bharata. So develop a skill called Titiksha. It's a good name to give to the kids. If there is any girls, put a name. Interestingly, this is the name of my friend and one of the project service director, Dr. Vikrant Singh Thomas' daughter's name is Titiksha. Ideal name. So the definition of Titiksha is given in the 25th verse of Vivek Chudamani, which is a book written by Shankaracharya. The definition given is Sahanam Sarva Dukkhanam Apradikara Purvakam Chinta Vilaparahitam. That's what it is. Chinta Vilaparahitam. Underline that. I also suffer all the problem. Why? There's no other option. I'll curse everybody. Right from God. If you go to the temple and stay behind the idol, 80% of the prayers is what? Either some request or some curse. I was doing so many things for you, but the Ishvara Kripa is such that it always falls left and right of me. Wait till chapter 7. You will have a clear understanding of this Ishvara Kripa. Because right now, some people become agnostic because of one life experience. So, all that doubts will be clarified with crystal clear clarity, chapter 7. Okay, so I'll stop here. And by the way, we are starting chapter 7 in a web session. So it is Tuesdays, 9:15 to 9:45. Anybody interested, you can join. Send out the flyers. So, if you want to jump ahead with a little bit further. Okay, any questions on this verse? Any doubt on the practicality of this verse? So, what is a healthy life? Krishna is going to talk in the next verse. Then he's going to talk a little bit more about the absolute. So this is that. So please allow me to go slow a little bit in these verses because this has to be understood. As I said, this is not a matter of belief, but it's a matter of understanding. Please, you need faith. Don't judge me wrong, but this is not a X said you believe because of that. It has to be understood. Okay, we'll do the yoga nidra. Take a 5-minute break. So, anybody wants all the scientific references, which medical research talked about this threshold of pain, which all that is there in the OneNote. Okay, with the publication name, which scientist did that, everything is there.
I'll try to get the book flow. I have it.
What is it?
The flow book, I have it.
Oh.
I'll get it. You said Tuesdays 9. What time was it?
9:15 to 9:45.
So that's a web
Yeah, Zoom session.
Zoom session.
How's your India? Good.
Very nice. Busy.
Okay.
I'll have to skip
Yeah,
for
no problem. Okay, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, can you give me
No, no,
more?
please.
I need that for the class.
I thought it's
Yeah. That's fine. So, when it's Thursday, we can connect the HDMI splitter. I wanted the micro USB also.
Okay. Yeah, feel it.